Hey YouTube, it's SoulPrime13 with another Transformers video review. Today we are going to be taking a look at the Studio Series Transformers 1 Deluxe Starscream. So, I'm a bit torn on this figure, honestly. Because on one hand, I really do like collecting all the Seekers, and I really did like the Seeker design for the ones in the movie. And we all have already heard that they're going to be doing like each individual Seeker with their minor differences that they each had. So each one is going to be like slightly retooled. It's going to be more than just like new heads on some of them. I'm very excited to see what they do. But there is some things about this overall mold that I'm not super in love with. But at the same time, like, I'm excited for other ones. Like, it's kind of weird. I'm not sure how I feel about it overall. But we'll get into that. So, first of all, we have our packaging here. There we have Starscream. We've got our wraparound of that art. We do have his vehicle mode here. We do have our Autobot symbol for our Autobot Starscream. We do have that artwork there again. Just got the movie logos and stuff up here. We got our legal jargon on the bottom. And we do have our product shots along with our screen cap and one-line bio. They definitely made him look a lot more silver in this picture, but they always make him look as nice as possible in the product shots. So, also, I do want to mention, since it does say 30 steps here, he does feel kind of complex for a modern deluxe. Although I'm not entirely sure that's for the best, because again, there are some finicky bits to this guy, but he does feel like he has a lot more steps in engineering than a lot of the current deluxes. So, that's it for the box. We do get our lovely instruction booklet here. So, yeah, there is all of that. And here we have the figure himself, and getting a close-up, he does have a lot of color variation, as Starscream usually does. He does have that nice red torso. He does have this nice little streak of that like off-white, like it's sort of a, it's definitely not a gray. It's sort of similar to the Optimus gray. It's a little brighter, like you can sort of see. It's a little bit brighter. But it is sort of like an ivory off-white. He does have sort of a, what shade of blue would I call that? It's sort of a darker blue, but not super dark. But the red is definitely pretty dark. He does have some gunmetal gray for like his guns and stuff. Turn around to the back, he does have a bit of a backpack. He does have that extra gun. Probably one of my biggest nitpicks is the thrusters, and actually hold on a second, I do want to grab something. I do want to bring in the Blocky's model kit just as a comparison to how he looks, and from what I understand of how the feet look, because this is, basically ripped from the movie, I do feel like his thrusters should be pointing down as they do with like most other jets. I mean, he does do a little bit of flying in robot mode in the movie. And I can sort of see why they use like the blocky part of the thruster to match his heel. But still, the fact that the thrusters face sideways, like at the very least I would have liked for them to face away from his foot. Like the way the thrusters are positioned just like really irritates me. I'm not entirely sure if I can call it a good reason or not, but it really just bugs me, and I'm pretty sure that's just a nitpick on my part, but god does it bug me. And yeah, you can't really their molded detail just fills up the whole thing. So there's no blast effect compatible here. I don't think he has blast effect compatibility on any part of him, actually. Do have some over here. I don't think he even has it on his... No, he kind of has it on his null ray just because of the size of the barrel. Does he have it on these guns? Not really. Could you theoretically? Maybe. Not really. It's not very tight. And put it on here. Definitely have it on here. Go ahead and wiggle this off. So he does have some blast compatibility, just not in that thruster. And I really do wish they did, because I really like my Foosh feet thrusters. Yeah, he does have some nice silver paint on the face, and anyone who's seen this with someone who has a better camera knows that he has the weird kissy lips. And honestly, I'm not too worried about that, because I am thoroughly convinced DNA upgrade or some third party is gonna make an upgrade kit that gives him a new head. DNA already did one for Megatron and Optimus. I wouldn't be surprised if they did one for like Alita and Starscream 2, maybe Bumblebee and Starscream. I'm sure that there's gonna be at least something that gives him a new head. I'm not that worried about it. The feet do hold up pretty well. There is no ankle movement due to either cuts or the way they engineered him. He does just have the slanted sculpt in his feet. And honestly, it looks okay for the most part. I do wish there was ankle tilt, but you know, I'm not gonna freak out about it, one figure missing it, especially when the way his feet transform is a little weird. So I do kind of understand. Someplace that we do get extra articulation is the null rays, because not only do these shoulder pads move up and down, they actually rotate forward for transformation. So you can like sort of have them facing forward like that. So I think that's a little interesting. But since we're on that subject, let's go over the articulation. His head is on a nice, very expressive ball joint. Plenty of movement there. It kind of looks like it's on a hinge, but it's really not. I mean, it is, but it's the transformation hinge, so it doesn't actually do anything for his posability. You can get that far out at the shoulder. You can rotate his arms all the way around if you account for collision. It is kind of hard to get through that last little bit at the back. His shoulders are just on ball joints. They are kind of restricted ball joints. You don't get very much forward and backward, but you can see the ball joint there. We do get a very, very stiff bicep swivel, which I do believe also is part of the transformation. We do get over 90 degrees on a single joint elbow, which is nice. Nothing at the wrist. No waist swivel, which honestly that's pretty par for the course on Starscream these days, it seems. We do get some movement in the wings. We get both a hinge and a ball joint. Again, these are more for transformation, but it does give you options if you want to, angle his wings in different ways or pose him like if he's like flying or something. For the legs, we do get a very high kick. He can do the can. He can't stand and do it because of those angled feet, but you can get quite the can in that can. You had no idea. You can kick pretty far back without bending the knee, and a little bit further. You basically he can do lots of dance poses, it seems. Would you stop popping out of place? You do get that thigh swivel. Again, nothing at the ankle. Not really anything at the toe. Like, there is a tiny bit of movement, but that's the transformation joint more than anything. But overall, I do think his proportions look good, and all the joints that are supposed to move are, for the most part, pretty solid and have the right amount of stiffness. It's just that that bicep is just really, like, you can feel it like soft clicking because it's slightly too big, and it is very tight on both sides. This side's a little better, but it's still very tight on both sides. But that's about it for the articulation. We should do some comparisons. So first of all, here he is next to his new boss. And here he is next to Orion. So there's that. And here he is next to War for Cybertron, Cybertronian Starscream, Deluxe versus a Voyager. In fact, I think this is the first Deluxe Starscream we've had in quite a while, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Because honestly, aside from the classics, I can't remember the last Deluxe Starscream we got. Like, even the, like, Armada Starscream has been a Voyager. They've been Voyagers for quite a while. If you can think of any others, let me know in the comments. I'm kind of curious who was the other most recent Deluxe Starscream. And here's one he takes a bit of design cues from, but here's the Bumblebee movie Tetra Starscream. So there is his other recent movie appearance. But yeah, now let's talk a little bit about his accessories, starting with this thingy. We'll go ahead and take that blast effect off now. But essentially this is two pieces. It is the tail, sort of the tail fin back cone of his jet mode that pops off, and it does come packaged separately. And then he does have this gun, which is reminiscent of the gun from, you know, the other movie Starscream. You know, it's different, but it's the same vein. In fact, it plugs into his jet mode on the bottom, the same as that other one. But yeah, it just has this little tab that plugs in the top here to form like a weird alien blaster. And you can just, you know, leave it on the back here, or, you know, just have the jet piece there. This peg does fit into his hand. Not super well, but it does plug in. So you can have him holding the weird alien blaster if you so choose. The null rays are also packed separately. They do just peg in. I will say that the joints, or rather the peg for this, it's not super tight, but it is tight enough that it makes me worry about these possibly getting bent out of shape if you're not careful while you have, because like you do have to move them around sometimes, and I think you rotate them for the transformation. Also, you do. Oh wait, no, you don't. I don't think you do. But like, if you're not careful, I feel like it wouldn't be impossible to, you know, accidentally bend these or snap off the tip, because the plastic here is a little thin, and you can see it does have some like bendiness to it, but not because it's bendy, but because it's kind of thin. So be careful, like when you turn these, grab them at the pin, at the, you know, post, and turn them there. So something to mention. But yeah, I think that's about it. That's pretty much it for the accessories. I don't think there's too much else to mention in robot mode. So yeah, I think we can go ahead and move on to the transformation. And yeah, this does get surprisingly involved. Like I've been saying, this is surprisingly complex for a deluxe, I feel. Especially compared to some of the recent stuff we've been getting. Heck, he's more complex than Titans. Well, actually, a lot of Titans are actually pretty simple, so just because they're big. But yeah, first thing we are going to do is we are going to not rip off the null ray. Jeez. This is the second video in a row where I've accidentally pulled something off that's not come off before. But yeah, we just want to come over here, and we want to rotate this forward. There's a hinge right here. We want to bring these forward. Come on. Stop being weird with me. We'll bring those forward. And then we want to come back here and open these leg panels. We are going to wait to finish the legs though. And we want to untab his whole chest area here. And you do want to make sure his head is detached as well. And what we're going to do is we are going to fold this whole piece out here like so. We are going to bring this piece down and bring the cockpit piece down on this extra hinge right here. And that's going to make it extend a little further. This little joint here is going to go into this space like so. And when we bring this up and snap it into place, come on, it'll form the cockpit like that, and then we bring out the rest of the little nose piece. It's also on a double hinge, and it does sort of lock swoop into place as you bring it around. So there's that. And then we want to bring this straight up so that the vents are facing straight forward. Then we do want to come back here. We're going to bring these pieces, these red pieces, down to the side like so, down to the side like so, and open this whole backpack, pull this whole assembly back. There are the little tabs on the red here that are going to go into little tabs on the black, like so, and then his head can just kind of rest in this cavity right here. Then for these pieces, you want to bring them all the way down. There is a little tab right here on the armature, a little tab right here. Bring the camera down. Right here, it's this one right here. You want to bring all the way down and bring it around, and there's this little slot right here that's going to go over that little tab, locking those into place like so. And I should mention, most people have already mentioned it, but the first time you do the nose cockpit piece, it is a little weird just because of how everything moves, but once you've done it once or twice it makes sense, or rather you understand how to do it. It is a little weird the first time. Then we're going to take the wings on their ball joints and we are going to rotate them around. Rotate them around. You want these blaster joint pieces facing forward, and if you want you can go ahead and unfold them now. Usually I'll wait a little bit, but you can unfold them now. Now we are going to come here, and with the legs we are going to fold them up like so, and his thighs are just going to go into these open cavities in his calves like so. Just bring them all the way up, them all the way in there. And then we do want to make sure to tab his legs together down the middle here. And then, do kind of want to scoot these arms out of the way. These blue pieces are going to come up. And we do want, before we do that, we want to fold up the thrusters. And they do tab. This little slot here is going to go onto a little post right here. Oh yeah, and there's this little tab on the red that goes into his calf. That little square right there. Just lock those into place. So we want to bring this up. We want to make sure that those tab into place. And then these blue bits will come up and they will sort of tab into those thruster pieces as well. Like so. And then we fold the feet up, and these little bits here under his toes will go into this little slot on the thruster. Like that. Now, for the arms, I'm pretty sure because I always feel like I missed something on the, okay, yeah, now I remember. So you can sort of see these two little tabs on his arms. Those are going to go in these little cuts in this hinge for that blue piece on his leg. And that'll just slide over that, and that'll stick in place. Slide over that, we'll stick that in place. Then we're going to take these guns, we're going to bring them in like this, and this is specifically when you have to bring this piece in. Oop. But you want to bring it in, and I believe, yeah, you want it facing with the gun barrel downwards, like so, to, you know, copy that Tetrajet look. But it's sort of hard to tell with all the waffling on this, but there is sort of like a little square right here, like right here, that's going to go over these pieces here on the null rays, and you can just sort of stick it on one of them like so, but then you want to bring these in together and it'll clamp down. I want to make sure we get them coming in evenly because they do sort of zipper together. There's some mismatched tabs. Bring it together like that, and now he has the gun on the underside of the jet, and that specifically has to be done like that, because if you try it after it's already closed, it won't go in. Now for the final bit, the wings, we just kind of want to bring them down and line them up with the red. Do want to kind of get this under there. And there is a little tab you can sort of see right here. It goes into this slot right here behind that pin. It's not the best. And honestly, whenever I try and like get it to lock in, it just makes it worse. So yeah, just kind of have to rely on the tightness of the ball joint to keep the wings in place. But once you just sort of get that underneath like that, that's pretty much as good as it's going to get. You can angle them if you want, but you do risk them sort of popping out of place. But it's easier just to angle these bits because they actually have a hinge for that if you want that more angled wing look. But essentially, there you have Starscream in his Cybertronian Tetrajet mode. And I do think this mode looks nice. Getting there is a little bit of an adventure, admittedly, but I do think the end result is pretty good. I have less nitpicks with this mode than I do the robot mode, though to be honest, you know, it's still a little rough, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, his hands are just kind of hanging out there. You can see his feet are, you know, right here under the thrusters. He's sort of like in a what's it, like a somersault position almost, just kind of grabbing his toes as he like slides down, like if you were sledding down a hill or something. So it's not perfect, but I do like the overall design aesthetic they were going for. I do like the whole Tetrajet thing. I've liked it in War for Cybertron. I liked it for the most part in the Bumblebee movie, although that's probably my least favorite version of it. I like this, and I am excited to see what they do with the other Seekers and the cone heads and stuff. But yeah, overall, it's not bad. But we should go ahead and do a couple of comparisons. So here we have him next to Studio Series B127. Here we have him next to his Wavemate Elita 1. And unlike Elita 1, we weren't expecting him a year ago. He's not, you know, the main four, so I'm a little more forgiving of him taking so long to get out. And just for general comparison, here he is with ye old generic Seeker. So yeah, and again, like very clearly a deluxe, much smaller than our average Voyagers these days. So, but I think that's pretty much it as far as the comparisons I have. So yeah. But overall, I do like the figure well enough. Again, I don't think it's perfect. I'm not really too worried about that weird head that they have on him, because again, like practically every Studio Series figure gets some sort of upgrade kit or, you know, improved knockoff, or at the very least like a knockoff with a better paint job. So I'm fully expecting somebody to, you know, do something about that head in a third-party release. I'm not worried about that. Again, I do have some qualms with like the robot mode design, but some of that is, to be honest, just kind of nitpicking more than real issues. And for the most part, things hold together pretty well. It's pretty much these wings in the jet mode can pop out of place pretty easily when you're messing with them. But, you know, they'll pass the shake test. They aren't going to, you know, just flop around. So, overall, I'd say he gets, I think a 7.5 out of 10 would probably be a good place to put him. He's definitely got some compromises, and again, he does feel kind of complex for deluxe. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing is kind of up to you. Usually, I like complex more than not. I do feel like in this instance it did kind of like lead to some cut corners and some compromises, but again, you know, I'm not the designer, I'm not Hasbro, you know, maybe this was the best they could do. I'm not going to pretend that I know. But overall, I do think he's at least worth picking up, especially if you're a fan of Starscream or you just generally like Seekers. If you're into the Tetrajet, I think this is one of, I wouldn't say it's the best design, but I do like it a little bit more than the Bumblebee one, which, to be fair, it's not like I hate that one. The War for Cybertron, Siege, whatever it was, that was my favorite. I have like almost all of that mold. But overall, I do think it's a good figure, and I would recommend. So I think I'll go ahead and wrap things up there for this review. So this is Soul Prime 13 saying transform and soul out.